We are going to begin by reading James chapter 4, verses 11 through 16. Before I read that, I want to welcome each of you. I was expecting kind of a small crowd today. I knew the Driscolls were gone with ACU football, and I know that the Waldrops are gone to Branson, and the Gosens are gone to visit Ben up in Kansas, and so I knew a lot of people would be gone, but we have a lot of visitors this morning, and we're thrilled to have each of you here in our study this morning. And Susan and I want to tell you how much we appreciate all of your acts of kindness and words of kindness and encouragement over Mom's passing this week, and we really are thankful to each of you. Well, I'm going to read this passage to you. You will think that the two parts of this passage don't go together, but in the way I'm looking at it this morning, I think they do. We'll not be able to cover all of it, but we'll cover part of it this morning. James says, "Brothers, do not slander one another. Anyone who speaks against his brother or judges him speaks against the law and judges it. When you judge the law, you're not keeping the law, but sitting in judgment on it. There is only one lawgiver and judge, the one who is able to save and destroy. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You're a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live or do this, that. As it is, you boast and brag. All such boasting is evil." Well, how do I begin with something like that? I think I want to begin by having you to think about an actress or an actor and how they are called upon over a course of a career to play many different roles. And as they play those various roles, they play them in such a way to make them seem so very real. And the best actresses, the best actors, are able to make them all seem really real. Now, I'm not familiar with modern actresses and actors. I guess in this sense, I'm still stuck in the old days. Because I think about actors like Jimmy Stewart, one of my all-time favorites. And I've seen Jimmy Stewart play a comedy role before in a movie. He did it so very well, made it seem so real. And I've seen him play in a war movie as a pilot. That came very natural to him because he left Hollywood and joined the war in World War II and became a decorated pilot. And I've seen him play those Alfred Hitchcock mystery, suspense, drama type movies. Very convincing in his role. And of course, I've seen him play numerous Western roles. Each time, making it seem so real. It's what actresses do. It's what actors do. So I'm wondering, do you think that there's a bit of actor or actress in all of us? Don't you think that we in this life play a variety of roles and we try to play them so convincingly and so very well, and some of them we need to play? But there's one role that sometimes you and I end up playing that no one should play. It is so dangerous that I'm hesitant to even bring it up. Don't like to use a phrase. But so very often we play the role of God in the lives of other people and in our own life. That's what this passage is all about. Playing the role of God in the lives of other people and then in our own lives. I only have time for part of it this morning, in the lives of other people. So did you catch how he began his words? Brothers, you can't miss all these months in the book of James without understanding he's not talking to people of this world, he's talking to Christians. He's saying, brothers, Christians, why is it that you slander one another? Or you speak against each other? Or judge other people? Well, I start with the slander and the talking against. I guess when you slander, you talk against. It is so common that I can do it without even realizing it. Do you know that? It is so common, so much a part of our speech that I can do it without even realizing it. And slander is this thing that we say about someone else. Whether it's true or not true really is irrelevant. Does that surprise you? Whether it's true or not true is really irrelevant. It's just when I take whatever it is and I say it to other people, and it ends up making that person who's the subject of my speech look poorly, look worse. It's saying things that make them have kind of a bad light in your eye. Why do I do that? Well, for the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about the wisdom of this world versus the wisdom of heaven. And the wisdom of this world is Satan-induced, and it's selfishness, and it ends up in jealousy and envy. And the more I speak against someone, for some reason, for some strange reason, I live under this false impression that makes me look better or feel better about myself. Slander and speaking against, when we are taught directly that as people of God, we are supposed to be an encouraging body. And we're supposed to build each other up. And we're supposed to have words that are for building each other up. 1973, first round draft pick in the NFL was a man named John Matuszak. John Matuszak went on to have a spectacular career in professional football. Most of his career was with the Oakland Raiders, a Hall of Famer. After that, he went into a bit of acting, by the way. But in 1973, he was a first-round draft pick, and he was chosen by the Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers, worst football team in the profession at that particular point in time. That's why they got the first-round draft pick. Now, in 1973, Houston got a new coach named Sid Gilman. Sid Gilman, in his own right, was claimed to be one of the greatest football coaches of all time. He also is in the Hall of Fame. In 1973, when Gilman went to the Houston Oilers, they won 1 game and lost 13. In 1974, which is as long as he stayed, they won 7 and lost 7. But it was considered in that day in professional football to be a major turnaround. And he was asked, what is your secret to this turning around this football team? He said, I have no secrets. We're just going to be a team. He said, every person on this team knows to encourage everyone else. And every person on this team knows to speak about the abilities of other people in a very powerful, strong, uplifting way. We are a team. It's made the difference. Well, what about Matuszak? He never played for the Oilers. He never made it to the Oilers. Oh, he got there, but they have a practice, and everybody shows up in their sweatpants, and everybody has their gray sweatpants, their gray uniform type thing. But Tuzak shows up in these double-knit, bright red pants, and Gilman says, "What are you doing wearing those? We're a team. This team wears all the same thing. This team wears gray. You're not going to wear those." A little bit later, they go to a training camp. And Gilman wants them all to be a part of a unit, kind of in a dormitory facility, and Matuzak rents a house. He says, "I rest better by myself." Gilman said, "You need to learn to rest well with your team, because we're going to be a team." They had a third incident. Gilman said, "Mr. First-round draft pick, you don't fit. You're not the right kind of player. We don't need you. You're gone." Wow. You think it's a strange illustration? Gilman made his success by saying, "You're going to treat people right on this team. And you're going to encourage, and you're going to build them up, and you're going to brag about what their abilities are." That sounds almost like Scripture to me. And James says, where's this slandering coming from? This talking against people. And this judging of people. And this judging of people. See, it fits right along. They're almost in the same breath. I want to be careful. There are times that we probably have to judge. There are times we have to discern. But we exercise the ability far more than is needed. Do you understand that? We exercise the ability far more than it's needed. We judge far, far too often. And we normally judge when we don't know the story. Isn't that right? So, though you've heard it before, I remind you again of my principle that I coined some years ago. Judge not because you're not very good at it. Remember that? Remember my story? Never leave my story. I used to go to a fitness center all the time. For years I went to a fitness center early every morning. I walk into this big giant fitness center and there's a little girl standing there in front at the counter and she's checking my badge to make sure I'm really a member. And I see her wedding ring and she's smiling and she's so friendly and I go back and begin my workout and it's not very many people there and I see her with this young man. And she's so friendly with the young man. And she's playing ping pong with a young man. And I'm thinking, young lady, you're going to get yourself in so much trouble. You're married. And you're too friendly. Day after day after day, weeks pass. And I'm trying to think, should I talk to her? Should I tell her? And one day I'm in the fitness center and a medical doctor's over here and she comes over, she loves missions. And she says, "Ken, I want to introduce you to someone." She brings the little girl over. She brings her ping pong buddy and says, "This couple is about to graduate from Texas Tech and they want to go to the mission field." I couldn't hear all the rest of it. All I could hear is this couple. This couple. They're married. They're friendly. They're married. They're playing ping pong together. And all the while, I've been what? Exercising my wonderful gift of judging when I didn't know the story. A woman called me this week. She's about the age of Jenny, from another state. And she's having difficulty at work, and it spills over related to her personal life. At one point I said to her, "I cannot judge in your situation. I have not walked in your shoes. I have not experienced what you've experienced. I have not been through all of this. May I tell you that it's between you and God, and you have to settle this between you and God? I have no ability Jesus said, you be very careful how you judge, because with what judgment you use, it'll be measured to you. And he said, my paraphrase, what's the deal with you trying to take this little speck out of your brother's eye? You're trying to correct your brother, a little tiny thing over here. And you fail to see the beam, the plank in your own eye? But we like to talk against, and we like to slander, and we like to judge. It just comes naturally. Can I tell you the real problem? Not as all the damage it does. Did you catch the real problem? He said, when you judge the law, you're not keeping the law. And I will remind you of this. It's like he says, there is only one lawgiver and only one judge. And James is saying, you're not him. There's only one lawgiver, only one judge. He's able to save and he's able to destroy. When you jump over into the judging business, you're jumping into God's business. And we need to be very careful playing the role of God in the lives of other people. Once in a while, certain circumstances, you have no choice. But those times are rare. It's God's business. That's what we learned in Romans chapter 14 also. Who are we to judge someone else's servant? And finally ends like this. But you, there's only one lawgiver, only one judge. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? The condemnation is coming upon those of us as Christians who decide to play God in the lives of other people. I'd like to. I'd like to in a lot of ways. Direct my children, everything I think they should do. My grandchildren, everything that I think they should do. My son-in-law in a lot of ways. I'd like to straighten a lot of things out. But who am I? Who am I? And James is giving us a powerful reminder as Christians. Oh, I know the lesson has not been easy this morning, but you know that every single lesson since early July or the last of May in the book of James, every single lesson with the exception of one has been just like this. I told Susan and some others there a while back, don't ever tell me again that James is this little lighthearted, fun book to read. He just jumps down in the middle of our lives, in the middle of my life, every single time. Because as much as I don't want to, I slander, I talk against, and I judge. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to put aside some of this selfishness and be able to submit more to God, which is what James chapter 4 is all about, really. I hope it works for you too. Hope you'll think about that also.